Welcome to Solutions for the World. Here we don't focus on the grift and constantly complain about the world's problems to keep you in a constant state of anxiety, but instead guide you on the current realistic ways to solve issues that harm the world we live in. The next problem we will discuss here concerns every government on the planet, and that has to do with oligarchy. An oligarchy is basically a small group of people having control over a country, organization, or institution. It is what the public believes as the elites having minority control or rule over the masses. So what would be the best solution to counter minority rule over the masses? We have found ways of countering this minority rule of elitist, and that will be with the type of government that has rarely existed in human history of government, and that is with direct democracy. The type of governments in the Western world that we currently have is modeled by representative government or a republic, which is a form of democracy where people give up their power to officials that they elect, and then depend on them to make the correct choices. Oligarchs control representative government through bribes and financial opportunities through lobbies, super PACs, and corporations that make it difficult to pass legislation that helps and assists the public needs. Ancient Greece was the first democracy, and it fell because of the same problem that exists today, which is oligarchy. The government did not fail because of mob rule, although it was a problem, and which is the main fear that deters people away from true democracy. Little do people know, when the constitutional framers met in convention in Philadelphia in 1787, their motivation in designing a new government was influenced by the fact that the 13 Confederate states were falling apart, because they were acting as independent sovereigns. The convention delegates were the wealthy elites of that period, who realized that any loss of civic cohesion would directly affect the value of their personal property. The design of their new government did not include the structure of direct democracy that was so successfully employed in the New England town meetings and so profusely lauded by the founders as the people's right to change and alter governments. Mob rule can be controlled by existing laws such as the Bill of Rights, which protects minorities from the majority with equal rights. The government that is the closest to direct democracy in modern-day history is Switzerland. The people there do not worry about who is in power in the representative government because of this democracy. Few will argue Switzerland is a confederacy which allows to have this freedom of direct democracy. In fact, Switzerland is a federal state. This means that the state powers are divided between the confederation, the cantons, and the communes. Although its official name is Swiss Confederation for historical reasons, Switzerland has in fact been a federal state since 1848 and is recognized by all other countries as a sovereign federal state. Ex-Senator Mike Gravel has spent his last 30 years developing a system that implements direct democracy as the fourth branch of government in the United States, where the people can vote directly on policy, and also create laws through a filtered process that ensures only constitutional policies and popular ideas that are agreed on by a majority of people pass through, and eventually become law. Mike already has an amendment that is written and that is endorsed by a large number of experts in the political field. The adjustment that we recommend to his amendment is that the process involves having a supermajority, around 60 to 65%, or 2/3 of the country who vote on a law. Having the supermajority instead of a simple majority will ensure that there is no regional conflict between the states and that there are enough people on both sides that agree on a policy to make law. Now, how will we get to this point of creating a fourth branch of government within the United States or get direct democracy in any other country around the world? This will have to be done by amending the current constitutions. Amending the Constitution in the United States involves using Article 5 of the Constitution. Article 5 spells out a couple ways in which the Constitution can be amended. One method, the one used for every amendment so far, is that Congress proposes an amendment to the states. The states must then decide whether to ratify the amendment. But for Congress to propose an amendment, 2/3 of each House of Congress must vote for it. And then 3/4 of the states must ratify the amendment before it is added to the Constitution. So, if slightly more than 1/3 of the House of Representatives, or slightly more than 1/3 of the Senate, or 13 out of the 50 states object to a proposal, it will not become an amendment by this route. In that way, a small minority of the country has the ability to prevent an amendment from being added to the Constitution. Article 5 does potentially provide a way for the states to bypass Congress, although it has never been used. Article 5 says that, on the application of 2/3 of the legislatures of the several states, Congress shall call a convention for proposing amendments. The convention can propose amendments, whether Congress approves of them or not. Those proposed amendments would then be sent to the states for ratification. As with an amendment proposed by Congress, 3/4 of the states would have to ratify the amendment for it to become part of the Constitution. Mike Gravel has a different approach, which is holding a national election and bypassing Article 5. The argument for this by constitutional scholar Akhil Reed Amar states that Article 5 nowhere prevents the people themselves, acting apart from ordinary government, from exercising their legal right to alter or abolish government via the proper legal procedures. Article 5 presupposes this background right of the people, and does nothing to interfere with it. It merely specifies how ordinary government can amend the Constitution without recurring to the people themselves, the true and sovereign source of all lawful power. This method, however, is plausible but extremely difficult, and may occur some legal challenges. This is why we recommend using the Convention of States. Why? Because it is the fastest way currently. Its movement has been growing at the fastest rate than any other movement. They currently have 4.7 million activists, mainly conservative. As of the day this video is posted, 49 states have filed. 30 states passed committee hearings. 23 states passed a legislative chamber, and 15 states have actually passed the Convention of States resolution. This was accomplished with only 1.6 million activists at the time. 19 more states have to pass the resolution, which is very much a possibility with the more activists involved. The only thing missing is the involvement of the left side of the political spectrum. When there is the total amount needed, then the debate begins between the states on what amendment to pass. We feel the National Citizens Initiative for Democracy is the best amendment to pass. Because all of the proposed amendments brought up so far, like limiting the federal government, ending money in politics, and etc., are very popular. And this means that all of them can be passed, not separately, which would take much longer, starting the process all over again, but together under the umbrella of direct democracy. Now, the process is different all around the world in different countries, but the amendment can be copied globally to create the policies to deter the negative influences from oligarchy. Please join the Convention of States website as well as the National Citizens Initiative for Democracy. This solution would be ideal for the entire world. Problem solved. If you have anything you want to discuss, then feel free to debate in the comments below. If it turns out the information you provide is valid, I will make sure to do an update video later. Also, you can donate to our cause to solve the world's problems. Remember, you can change the world if you really want it.